cutting it the way you see water, because one cannot say that water will finish. As this one is cut down, so the other ones are coming up.
Communities, their livelihoods, their future depend on the mangroves, while they are also the custodians of the mangroves. So you cannot ignore the needs of the population.
There is a kind of a desire for immediate satisfaction, which we are trying to balance by educating these local communities. Yes, if you are a fisher folk, the mangrove is important for your fishing activities, then preserve it. Don't use it. That is why government has introduced a drying scheme for them, so that they stop cutting the mangrove.
The reality that the last remaining mangrove forest in Nigeria may soon be completely erased from the country's forest map is today more obvious than any other time in history. The concern over the impact of a continuous decline of this unique ecological zone, both at the micro and macro levels, has drawn a consortium of environmentalists and community people uniting to seek and prefer alternatives that will guarantee sustainable coexistence between increasing human population and the last remnant of Nigeria's last mangrove for a long time to come. Although the mangroves are not considered strictly as rainforest, they represent the last frontiers in Nigeria. Today, less than 50% of its original mangroves remain, in spite of its valuable contribution to the survival of species and environmental conditioning.
Nigeria has 1/3 of Africa's mangrove, and about 1,000 square kilometers of that is found in Cross River State. The mangrove of the Niger Delta, of which Cross River is a part, has 60% of the spawning site for fishes in West Africa. The mangrove is a huge source of carbon sink, and it's a determinant of livelihood options for people in the coastal areas of Cross River State and other states in the Niger Delta.
Experts say by the late 1990s, more than 90% of Nigeria forest cover was already lost. The mangrove forest is estimated to cover about 40% of the remaining forest. In spite of the size of the remaining mangrove, Nigeria is still recognized as having the largest mangrove in Africa, with an estimated size of 10,500 kilometers square and nearly 1/3 of Africa's mangrove.
Before now, government and NGO effort in conserving the forest has been focused in the tropical forest from central to northern Cross River State. This is the first time NGOs and government are coming together to manage the mangrove forest.
An estimated 60% of the fishes in the Gulf of Guinea breed in the mangroves of the Niger Delta. Fishing accounts for about 88% of the household income, ranging between 35,000 naira to 260,000 naira per fishing season.
The mangrove forest is one of the very rich carbon sink we have in the state. And the state is very serious on the issue of carbon credit. And with the mangrove having a very high potential for carbon sink, carbon sequestration, our state is committed to the protection of the mangrove. And that is why in 2000, in year 2000, they took a bold step to consolidate part of our mangrove into a reserve.
Apart from being an excellent carbon sink, the economic value of standing mangroves is estimated at about 30 million naira to 140 million naira per hectare. Similarly, the cost of mangrove restoration is estimated at 34 million naira to 143 million naira per hectare. while the cost for protecting existing mangroves is only 28,500 naira per hectare.
Cross River State government is quite interested in the mangrove forests of the state, and that I encouraged them in 2004 to gazette and establish a mangrove forest reserve. Part of the forest reserve, part of the mangrove in Cross River State was constituted into a forest reserve, and that is the first in Nigeria. And that area is over 200 square meters of the mangrove forest, and that is because as a reserve, entrance and all that is restricted, and one can manage it well.
Weak forest regulations, narrow perceptions of forest resources, increasing human population, increasing demand for mangrove forest for timber and fuel wood, and invasion by Nipa palm are combining to threaten the Cross River mangroves. The environmental benefits of the mangrove include erosion control, serves as barrier for floods, storm, cyclone, and other natural phenomenon. The mangroves also contribute to nutrients sink effect and reduction in pollutants, water quality control through entrapments of upland runoff sediments, protecting the nearshore reefs and reducing water turbidity.
So the mangrove ecosystem is indeed suffering, but the good thing is that attention is beginning to be focused on it for the purpose of managing it sustainably, for the purpose of deriving much benefit from it, for the purpose of ensuring that the local communities within the mangrove ecosystems are benefiting in a maximal way from the presence of the mangrove.
The mangrove forest is also an outstanding ecotourism asset, especially for an area like Cross River State, where the government has positioned its socio-economic development focus on tourism. According to experts, all these importance and benefits of the mangrove is shrouded by the threats facing the existence of the mangroves. If the present rate of mangroves depletion continues unabated in Cross River State, the entire Nigerian Delta region will be confronted with severe consequences of deforestation, declining fish returns, coastal erosion, as well as the intrusive invasion of the Nipa palm, an exotic plant that is presently forcing the mangrove out of her original habitat.
To eradicate these stubborn invasive species, the Nipa palms, and we hope that with proper support from donor organizations, that program will take off the ground and we'll be able to tackle these invasive species, either utilizing it in a manner that its reproductive potential is reduced to avoid further spread.
Cross River State Forestry Commission is a pioneer in involving communities in management of the forest, and that made us to form what we call community forest management committees in the different communities. These committees are like the police of the forest. They monitor and manage the forest so that the communities will benefit from it. We are not only just involving them, they participate fully. Discussions are taken where they make their voice is heard. We don't just invite them to come and sit down and maybe they go home. They make significant contribution because we know they live in the forest. And because they live in the forest, they know more about the forest, its uses, than the foresters who are not really living there. So we involve them. And we also ensure that even this community are not looking at the elders alone. We look at the women, we look at the youth. Because these different people have different interests. The women have their interest, the men have their interest, the chiefs, the elders have their interest, and the youths have their own interest. So we try to get all these different segments of the communities to be involved in the meetings concerning the management of the forest.
Concern Universal, an international non-government organization with projects in Cross River State, is implementing a coordinated mangrove conservation and restoration efforts that is targeting to impact positively on the lives of thousands of people whose livelihood are intricately tied to the Cross River mangrove ecosystem. With fundings provided by the European Union, Concern Universal is coordinating an integrated mangrove forest management project, INFORM, that is applying broad-based collaboration with government and rural communities. The INFORM project will support 1,250 rural dwellers to develop small-scale businesses as alternatives to fishing. Encourage the use of nipa palm for biogas and sap tapping for sugar and other products. Train 850 persons in disaster risk reduction. Provide support in forest management and regeneration and business development for more than 30 communities, as well as ensure that over 20,000 wildlings will be part of the regeneration plan in at least 5 communities in the coastal area of Cross River State.
The project is a multi-stakeholder project. We have Ministry of Environment on board. We have Forestry Commission on board, and we have as well as the University of Calabar. Forestry Commission and the Ministry of Environment are basically partners. They are involved in the day-to-day implementation of the project. While also we have Ministry of Education, Ministry of Justice, and Ministry of the National Park. These are more engaged. We engage them mostly in policy issues.
Concern Universal works in partnership with all these stakeholders. It also aims to promote ownership of all activities by these stakeholders, because without ownership there is no sustainability. This is not Concern Universal's activities. The restoration, the sound management of the mangroves, the preservation of these for future generation is the responsibility of Cross Riverians, from the communities to the government to also the private sector.
In partnership with all the development NGOs working in Cross River State, the INFORM project is implementing a mangrove community and schools conservation education initiative aimed at building a strong team of informed young people that will ensure long-term conservation and guarantee the future of Nigeria's last remaining mangrove forests.
I was told by my parents that mangroves were in the olden days formerly found in all these areas, but because of what they have used it for, because of too much usage, they are no longer found around here again. They are now found by the side of the river. I would do my best to try to create awareness among students in schools to have that desire in them to conserve the environment.
Okay, we started by giving environmental talks on mangroves, and we intend to achieve this by creating awareness of the environmental and economic importance of mangrove forest and nipa palm.
In the course of implementing its primary mandate, the project will at the same time carry out some cross-cutting issues in the areas of gender and HIV and AIDS awareness and emergency prevention and preparedness training.
I cannot say that one will solely depend on this alone, because there are times you go and you cannot come out with something.
The anticipated outcome of these efforts to check the survival of the mangrove forest is expected to increase income from participation in income generation cooperatives, including new economic uses of nipa palm. At least 1,250 persons will benefit from increased and alternative income. For Concern Universal and other INFORM partners, the project strategy that could encourage the regeneration of the Cross River mangrove will require a multi-stakeholder, multi-level, and multidisciplinary approach. These will ensure the application of a holistic approach, greater sustainability of impact, tapping into key competencies and perspectives, using comparative advantages and greater efficiency.